You're trying to find a fridge that actually keeps your vaccines or critical meds at the right temperature, doesn't throw a fit every time the door opens, and won't eat up all your budget. The hesitation is real. Most medical refrigerators look great on paper, but turn out to be a headache when you actually have to load them, check the temperature, and keep them running 24/7. That's why I spent a few days digging through product manuals, compliance guidelines, and a handful of buyer comments before hitting record. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about why the ACCUCOLD 2.65 cu.ft. model is different from the generic cooler you see in a lab supply catalog. It's marketed as a medical-grade unit, which means it's been built to meet ADA accessibility standards and comes with a NIST-certified thermometer. Those 2 points matter because they aren't just marketing fluff, they're the things that keep regulators happy and your inventory safe. In a small clinic or a pharmacy that does a few dozen vaccinations a day, you can't afford a temperature swing of even a degree. The built-in NIST calibration gives you a readout you can trust, and the glass door lets you glance at the contents without opening it and causing a brief warm-up. Now the size. At 2.65 cubic feet and a 20-inch width, this unit slots nicely under a standard lab bench or beside a work counter. It's not a walk-in, but it's also not a cramped countertop mini fridge. If you have a modest inventory, think a few hundred vials, some syringes, maybe a couple of temperature-sensitive reagents, this space is actually generous. I've seen users complain about larger medical refrigerators that dominate a room and make workflow awkward. The ACCUCOLD's footprint leaves room for a computer, a sink, or a quick prep station, which is a practical win for a busy pharmacy or a small vaccination hub set up in a community center. Ease of daily use is where a lot of these units fall short. The glass door on the ACCUCOLD is a double-edged sword. On the plus side, you can see inside without pulling the handle, so you avoid those little temperature spikes that happen every time you open a solid-door fridge. In real life, that means fewer was the vaccine-compromised moments. On the downside, the glass is prone to fingerprints and smudges, so you'll need a quick wipe down each shift to keep it looking professional. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's something you have to factor into your cleaning routine. Temperature stability is the heart of the product, and that's where the NIST-certified sensor shines. In my research, I found that units without a certified sensor often rely on generic digital readouts that can drift over weeks. A ACCUCOLD sensor is calibrated to the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is the benchmark many health agencies reference. For a clinic that must log temperature every 24 hours for compliance audits, that built-in certification removes a whole layer of paperwork. You can export the data directly from the unit's control panel without needing an external logger. That's a tangible time saver. What about noise and power consumption? The fridge runs on a compressor that's designed for continuous operation, but reviewers have noted that it's quieter than the older hospital-grade models that sound like a small engine. In a waiting room or a small office, that quiet operation helps maintain a calm environment. Power draw is modest for its class, but because it's meant to run nonstop, you'll still see a noticeable addition to your electricity bill compared with a domestic fridge. If you're on a tight utility budget, factor that in. Let's be clear on who should actually consider this unit. If you're a small to medium-sized pharmacy, a community health clinic, a mobile vaccination unit, or a research lab that needs a dedicated, temperature-controlled space for a limited set of supplies, the ACCUCOLD hits the sweet spot. Its ADA compliance means the handles are reachable for staff with varying abilities, and the external dimensions make it fit into tight spaces without sacrificing internal volume. It also works well for a dental office that stores certain anesthetics or for a school nurse's office that keeps a small stock of emergency meds. On the flip side, this isn't the right choice for a household that only needs to keep a few insulin pens cool. The price point, while not disclosed here, is higher than a standard consumer fridge, and the glass door, while functional, isn't ideal for a family kitchen where you want a sleek, opaque look. Large hospitals or research facilities that need multi-cubic food storage should look at larger walk-in units. The 2.65 cu.ft. capacity would require several of these side by side, which defeats the purpose of a single, efficient solution. A practical weakness that shows up in real-world setups is the limited shelf adjustability. The interior comes with a few fixed glass shelves, which work fine for vials and small boxes, but if you need to store taller containers like certain bulk vaccine vials, you'll have to rearrange or